All right, I know I'm looking a little bit hairy right now. I'm looking a little bit ragged. You can tell it's the off season, can't you? I'm sitting in my room playing Blackout Call of Duty all the time. A little bit of Red Dead sprinkled in. I'm not gonna lie to you. Very much enjoying being a cowboy. But besides the point, let's talk about Call of Duty. Let's talk about the patch that was released yesterday. If you can't already see, I've got notes up because my face is lit up by the widescreen. But we're gonna go through it. It seems to be received fairly positively so far. I like all the changes pretty much. We're actually going to read through everything that is competitively affecting us. We'll not go through everything, like the zombies and blackout, that sort of thing. We're literally going to talk CWL. There's a lot of changes in regards to that, and let's just get into it. You're sick of me waffling. First and foremost, I'm going to read through each part of the patch notes, and then I'm going to go to my thoughts on it. So first and foremost, let's talk about some machine guns. The MX9 has adjusted the 5-kill hit range up to 6 meters, which is a multiplayer only, and slightly increased ADS move speed. And that's the same for the GKS, which is the 5-hit kill range. The same for the CoD, which is a 5-hit kill range also. And my mic's falling down, that thing is broken. The Spitfire is an increased 6-hit kill range by 3 meters and a slightly increased ADS move speed. So pretty much the same buff to MX9, GKS, CoD, and Spitfire. Again, it seems like a good buff. These guns now do seem to be a little bit better, but it hasn't really brought them in line with the SOG or the Maddox for that case, of course, which seems to be an SMG at the moment as well. I think the only potential gun that we could see used competitively here is the Spitfire, but again, I don't think it has the range of the SOG, and that's saying something. I think the kick on the Spitfire is too much that it's really hard to control at any sort of range. Yes, it is pretty good up close and personal, maybe as good as the SOG, but realistically, the SOG is a lot more stable at any sort of range because of the grip attachment. I think if Spitfire had a grip attachment, then you might be all right. But realistically, I just don't think it's brought it in line with the SOG. I think what we're going to see soon is probably a nerf to the SOG. It wouldn't surprise me if they do that just to bring it in line with the rest of the SMGs. But I think the thing is with the SMGs is they're increasing the range on them. But that doesn't seem to be the problem for me as to why they're not used. I think a slight damage buff to them all would be good. Maybe not the SOG, of course, but to the rest would actually make them probably a little bit more viable. Range isn't the issue. SMGs are in a good place in terms of where they are to be used. I think the SOG is a prime example of that. Up close and personal, best gun on the game. It may well be the best gun of the game at the minute because of how quickly it does drop up close and personal. That's what these guns need to do. Range isn't necessarily too much of a concern. I think you need to make some of them have good range, like the GKS has great range, but the CoD is typically your P90 sort of gun. Make it a little bit more powerful up close. The MX9 make it a little bit more powerful up close. That's like your MP5. That does have maybe a little bit of range here and there classically. I just think that nothing is really comparing to the SOG right now. As said, it wouldn't surprise me to see a nerf to it, but at the same time, I think they're going the wrong way with the SMGs. I would like to see a damage buff, rather than all these range buffs. Let's move on to the assault rifles now. Maddox RFB has slightly increased recoil at the first and second shots, and then something about the operator mod that we won't care about. The KN57 has reduced idle sway and slightly increased the 4-kill hit range by 1.5 meters. The Rampart is slightly reduced idle sway, slightly reduced recoil the first and third shots, increased 4-kill hit range by 3 meters. Now, we'll not talk about the KN in the Rampart too much. I did see somebody on Reddit mention the Rampart being significantly better now. I give it a go, albeit just in pubs, so take that with a pinch of salt. I don't think it's still as good as the Maddox and the ICR and another gun that I'm going to talk about soon. I just think that the Maddox and the ICR are king right now, and that these other guns either need to be buffed a little bit more or we need to see more nerfs to the Maddox and the ICR. As said though, the Maddox nerf to those that has happened, which again is slightly increased recoil of the first and second shots, hasn't really caused it too many problems for me. From what I've played with it, range shots aren't really that much more difficult, and that recoil of first and second shots is not going to bother you for a close range gunfight. You'd have to be very unfortunate for that slight bit of recoil to put you off in a close range gunfight, but that's where the Maddox is used because of its versatility up close and the fact that it still has pretty decent range. I don't see the Maddox really being knocked off its pedestal right now. I think it's good and it's probably where it belongs to be right now. I questioned with some of the pros whether this might bring the Vapor into contention, but they said the Vapor's really inconsistent. The Maddox just seems to do a better job. So I'd imagine we're probably going to see the Maddox used just as much, which seems to be 3 or 4 guys running it on a 5-man team. So interested to see if they do anything further to the Maddox, but right now it's still in a very, very good place. Let's talk potential ICR changes here, though, because the tactical rifles have received a buff. Of course, only one of them. The Swordfish has slightly reduced delay between bursts and a reduced idle sway, and then something about the operator mod as well, but of course we don't play with those. But the Swordfish now is in a pretty good place. We've seen a lot of pros be talking about it. I think we've seen it used in America a little bit more than we have done in Europe, because I hadn't really seen it in Europe full stop until the buff did actually come in. So the Swordfish now is pretty good. I don't think it's as versatile as the ICR from what I've played with it, or from what I've seen from scrims. There's still times where, up close and personal, you'd much rather have an ICR or a Maddox. It doesn't kill in one burst unless you hit people in the head a couple of times, so it's one of those that maybe on long range maps, maybe on S&D, where you've got more chance to sort of post up, wait for people to come through, and you can kill them quickly. I think it's pretty good, but to be honest with you, where we are now, I still think the ICR is the king of the long-range gunfights. However, the Swordfish is nearly there. I wouldn't be surprised to see them being around a lot more now. However, I just don't think that it's as good as the ICR. As I said, the versatility isn't there, but it is nice for something else to actually be in the question. It's one of those things where at least players have something to experiment with. We'll see if it's going to be used. It wouldn't surprise me to see a few at Vegas if it stays in the same state. We don't have any patches until then. So just keep an eye on that one. The Swordfish is definitely knocking on the door, but I don't think it's quite there yet. Sniper is not really going to talk about that. No Paladin nerfs, so realistically that one's going to be used as per usual. There was a couple of buffs to the others, but the Outlaw, the SDM, and the Koshka all receiving buffs, but realistically no. Well, there's a base damage on the Outlaw, but I think... Oh, wait, sorry, that only affects shots to kill an already damaged target. So I don't think anything is going to knock the... Paladin off its pedestal right now. Specialists, because there has been some changes here. Okay, so let's go through every single one of them, and then we'll talk specifically on Ajax, Prophet, and Firebreak. Okay, so Ajax, reduced 9-bag's flash effect duration by 25%. The 9-bag is now countered more effectively by Tac Mask. We're going to talk Tac Mask soon. Increased bullet spread 25% and fortify stance when using the ballistic shield. Ajax's turn speed is now properly slowed when he's hit by a concussion with the ballistic shield equipped. That's great. Resolve an issue that compared to blah blah blah. Add a third person sound effect for titles 2 and 3 of the 9-bag. Right, so sorry, we're going to actually run through Prophet, Firebreak, and Rune as well. Prophet, improved Tempest accuracy. Tempest charges attached to players will no longer be destroyed by explosives. Couldn't even tell you that happened anyway. And then there was a bug as well. Firebreak, the Purifier will now properly damage the strike team, but however, it does seem as if there has been a silent Firebreak buff where the range of the Purifier has now been increased by the looks of things. So let's talk about Ajax first, because realistically he's the main one here. The other two are sort of not too heavy. However, the Ajax nerfs have come in and they're good. I think that the 9-bang was one of the bigger issues around him. It's now really been nerfed actually due to the fact that the Tac Mask has received a massive buff, which we'll talk on in a few minutes. But realistically, I think now is the time to maybe remove it from the GA and just give it a go. The reason I say that is because I just think there's other things that are better than him. From what I've seen at the 2K in Europe the other day, when teams weren't agreeing to GA, it actually gets taken down fairly quickly. At not one point did I really say Ajax and think that it was ridiculously overpowered. Now, I don't know if that's just because the two teams were mismatched or something like that, but it seems to be that people tend to be holding onto their War Machine or the cluster grenade with their battery to counteract this, and it seems to counteract it pretty well, considering we've seen the last nerf that he received in the previous patch was pretty strong. So now I just don't think he's in the place that he was at the beginning of the game. Wouldn't surprise me to see it removed from the GA, because realistically I don't think he's actually that bad now. I really don't. Prophet buff, okay, that's come in. It's already used a lot anyway. I would think that it's probably going to stay. Of course, it's received a buff. The accuracy has been improved. I'm okay with that. We'll see how good it is. Hopefully it's not made it too good, but it's already pretty powerful, and I think it's probably in quite a good place right now. And as I said, Firebreak seems to have received a silent range buff, and I still think that there's other things that are better than Firebreak. It's not typically one of the ones we see too often. We see it occasionally, mostly on Seaside and other really close encounter maps, or have that close hard point, or have that close control area. However, I don't think we're going to see it used too often. I think it'll still stay in the same place where it was. Now, let's run through the perk changes, the ones that matter anyway. We're not going to talk about Cold-Blooded. That's all we're not going to talk about. We're going to talk Tactical Mask. Increased resistance to 9-bag, concussions, and razor wire. Flakjack has received a buff as well, which has increased resistance to explosive damage. Dead Silence. Dead Silence will now suppress player sounds related to healing, taking full damage or surface while swimming, which affects multiplayer and Blackout. Now, the Tac Mask buff is very, very good, and we have been calling for it, and it's completely reduced the effect of stuns and 9-bags. It's made it very, very powerful, which is good. We need to see it happen because stuns and 9-bags were very, very powerful. I know the 9-bag has received a nerf on its own, but stuns or concussions, whatever you call them, have been very, very strong. Now, this counteracts that, which is great, but my only small issue with this one is that now Tac Mask or Flak is very much essential and everyone's going to be running it. It's not. I would have rather seen a concussion nerf, but Tac Mask coming in, it just means that everyone's going to be running it. That's probably my only issue. I don't really know if it is an issue, but it just becomes one of those perks called a crutch perk that everyone needs to be running at all times pretty much, which some players and some devs don't like, but that's definitely going to be the case now. I realistically can't. I'd be very surprised if not many people are running Tac Mask. Maybe like on your first live when there's not things available, or when you know there's not things available that's going to cause you problems, or you want to run Flakjack because you know you're going to be in the hill a lot, or run both, of course. That's obviously a viable option. I just think it's going to be one of them things that's always used now. But as I said, I do welcome the buff. Very, very happy with it, but I would have rather seen a counter nerf to the concussion and maybe a further nerf to the 9-bang. Dead Silence. Now, Dead Silence buff is obviously very welcome. Those things now not causing you any problems. If you're running Dead Silence, you shouldn't be able to be heard full stop. Surfacing while swimming is in there, but somebody said on Reddit that that doesn't seem to be working quite yet. So maybe a quick fix will come on that one. But again, once that is sorted, I'll be very, very happy with that. Quick run through of spawns, hardpoint spawns, wherever they put them. Oh my god, this mic stand, I'm going to blow up. I'm going to have, if anybody can hit me up with a mic stand, a better one than this piece of rubbish that I bought from Amazon that I will never ever recommend to anybody, please hit me up. Anyway, hardpoint spawns, let's talk about them. There has been some control spawn adjustments, but they don't really go into depth of what they've actually done. But hardpoint, spawn adjustments made for Arsenal, Summit and Payload, and in general, adjusted spawn logic associated with active hardpoint to reduce weight given to spawns near the hardpoint. This should help reduce the times when teams spawn on the same side as the active hardpoint. Which is good. It did need to come in. There's still been questionable times with spawns on hardpoint specifically. Seaside is easily the worst. I mean, I was playing with Benson in his 10s lobby with his subs the other day, and I mean, at one point, it's that third hill. I was sitting back at the statue when it goes to the fountain hill. I was sitting on the statue, and I shit you not, somebody literally spawned next to me. And I was on the statue. I was pretty far back. So that obviously needs to be influenced more. Hopefully that fixes that. The reports seem to be from the pros who have scrimmed a lot already that it does seem to have helped them, and they do seem to be better. So that's positive. But one of these things the thing is with spawns, they're so hard to tweak, and they're very hard to understand. So I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, your spawns are rubbish, your spawns are rubbish, because it's a complicated thing, and hopefully they do figure it out, but they are constantly updating it, which is positive from me. Very, very happy with that. Now let's go into the main portion of what a lot of people are happy about here, and that was the CWL Custom Games. Now let's just make a run through and list everything that has now changed. CWL Custom Games. Players can now select official CWL variants of hardpoint control and search and destroy in custom games made. You don't have to run through those rules, which is fantastic. These variants will have the current rules and restrictions found in the CWL rule set already applied. Introduced a custom game mode option to support competitive tuning for specialist for CWL rules. The following gameplay changes are enabled with the setting. So for any of you that don't know or have been living under a rock, this means that these things only change in CWL specific game modes. So if you're playing custom games and you select these, this is where these changes to specialists, I think that's pretty much it. Well, mostly specialists have been changed. I'm going to talk about this in a second, but we're going to run through it. So the following gameplay changes are enabled with this setting. Barricade now deals no damage but still slows, and Barricade has reduced health. Razor Wire, the same thing, deals no damage but still slows and has reduced health. Sensor Dart now only lasts 3 seconds, which is enough for 1 ping of the radar. Tag Deploy has a maximum of 4 spawns before it is destroyed and has a reduced duration. Reactor Core now deals much reduced damage, by the way. Helion Salvo Records deal reduced splash damage to players. We knew that was coming. It's been introduced. Positive on that. We'll talk on it in a second. Mesh Mines deal non-lethal damage. I don't think they're going to be used very much anyway. We'll talk on that in a second as well. So overall, a fantastic addition. It's really nice to see that Treyarch are willing to bend the rules a little bit when it comes to competitive. They are willing to make some changes specifically for us. Positive. Very, very positive. Everybody wanted to say this. The Barricade and Razor Wire nerfs are fantastic, and I feel like Torque now becomes a lot more viable. He becomes one of those utility specialists that teams can choose to use to cut off lanes, that sort of thing, and it makes sense. You know, you can use that now for a good use that isn't too overpowered. My only issue is I just don't think he's going to be used. I think at this moment in time where the game is at, it's very kill heavy. He doesn't kill anybody anymore. And realistically, when he did, he was never being used anyway because of a certain GA thing. But at the same time, he could be useful later on in the season. I just hope they leave him where he is until players start to develop in the game, the meta starts to change, and the game starts to slow down a bit. Because that does tend to happen when people start to learn the game a lot more and start to see what other people are doing, and then everybody gets used to it. Then that's when we may see him used a little bit more as a more tactical aspect. But as I said right now, specialists in terms of the whole game, they're more kill dependent right now. That's what people are running, and rightfully so, as this game at this moment in time is very, very kill dependent. It's very, very fast. So I just don't think he's going to be used too much, but I welcome the change either way. Sensor Dart only lasting for 1 ping. For me, that's okay. Again, I think it may be used. I just hope, I can't remember how often you do get the Sensor Dart on normal multiplayer. Hopefully it's not too much, but realistically, I don't think it's going to be worth using too much. I think it will come out of GA if it was in there. I can't really remember specifically, but I'm quite happy with that. To be honest, I don't think it's so bad anymore. Tac Deploy nerfs. I'm still on the fence about the Tac Deploy. I still just think it's really going to screw with the spawns. I think it really is, and the spawns already aren't perfect yet. We're getting there. I said I have full appreciation of what they're doing with the spawns, but for now, I would like to see it just kept where it is, not being used. Reactor core damage reduced is significant. However, I still think it's not going to be used that much, mostly because I think there is other things that are better, but at the same time, it still doesn't have much of a counter. The fact that you may burn through walls, it's just going to make engagements much easier. I think that realistically, to see that used more, we need to see the ability to use it so many times reduced. I think in pubs, I mean, you get 3-4 times a game. Obviously, that's not necessarily going to be the case in privates, but for me, I still think that it's very, very powerful at what it does, even though the reduced damage is quite significant. I'd like to see maybe used in scrims and stuff and tested a little bit before I sort of jump to that conclusion, but we'll see. I'm still not a massive fan of that from a competitive aspect. Helion Salvo Rockets now. So now this is come in, expect at least 1 player per team having that available at any given time, especially when we see Torque start to be used. It wouldn't surprise me to have somebody running it most of the time, just to get rid of the barricades and just get rid of Razor Wire. And also, I think this will have an effect on what streaks players are using. I don't think we'll see attack chopper and sniper used as much now. I think realistically, we're going to see, I mean, Dart and RCXD used when they get un-GA'd or nerfed, hopefully. We'll see Hellstorm. We'll see, where's it gone? Anyway, all those ones that can't be shot down. So realistically, I think that will change that, but it's not too big of a change. Mesh Mines, nobody's really bothered. Nobody's really going to run that. And Nomad is banned anywhere. I might be talking rubbish. You might be able to use Mesh Mines. I think it might be able to use Mesh Mines anyway. But realistically, I don't see them being used. I have only one slight issue with this whole CWL custom games. Right, okay, I know some people are going, well, what's the bad thing about this? And maybe I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but I think, and hear me out, I think the thing is, it's always the case where developers are wanting to get the game as close as what it is in Publix to what we play. What we play is close to what it is in Publix. That's why the 5v5 change came in. That's why Treyarch always want us to play with as much as they can, and I appreciate that. They're making the changes so we can do so. But if we want to blur the lines between competitive and private, it just, for me, it doesn't make sense to change things so they do different things now in private or in CWL rules as to what they do in public games and in the general game that everybody in the world plays. I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the changes and they're great for competitive integrity. That's the right thing to do. But I just think that if you're going to blur the lines, then why have they done that? I don't know. And maybe I'm just being pessimistic about it, but realistically, as said, I'm super happy that the change has come in. I just don't understand it, if you get what I mean. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because I think I make a fair point. But either way, I think I should still be very happy that they have made these changes. It's a very good thing that they have done. Quickly, bug fixes. Again, I want to maybe end it on a negative again. There's a few more bugs that have came in after they fixed a lot of them. But realistically, and actually this isn't a negative, this is a positive onto Treyarch, that when big patches like this happen, I mean, I'm not a game developer by any means, of course. I have no experience in it. But you would expect with a big change like this, things like this are going to happen. You know, players not getting score in private matches. And the name glitch seems to still be a problem. But I think everyone should really get off their backs. I mean, the thing is, these things happen. They don't intend for these things to happen. Glitches come in. Little bugs come in. It happens in anything. You change something in a big way, it's going to affect something else that you probably didn't expect. So the melee thing as well, obviously, seems to be the biggest one. They picked up on that fairly quickly. It'll get fixed. I think everyone needs to stop bitching about it, to be honest with you. It's like, oh, more glitches, more bugs. Yeah, it's going to happen. The game is still early in its life cycle. It's only been out just over a month now. I think everyone needs to sort of relax a little bit on the whole glitches and the bugs. These things happen. As long as it's fixed before Vegas, I don't care. It'll just be great if it's sorted before Vegas, and I'm sure it will be. I have full faith in Treyarch. Overall, fantastic patch notes, fantastic patch in general. Overall, super happy about it. We're starting to get to the game that we all know that it can be. It can be a fantastic game. I'm so excited for the Black Ops 4 season. I'm so excited for Vegas, and I'm going to be there. Hopefully I am. Hopefully I have news on that very shortly. Hopefully the talent announcement just comes soon. I just want to be on there. I want to be confirmed on there. I'm not going to delve into it too much, but we're going to end it there, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like. A subscription would also mean the world to us here at EGL, and of course we're going to have more to come. Unfortunately, Spitfire was postponed, so we'll have that tomorrow. I'm posting this video pretty late. I'm actually said I would get this video up in half an hour, so I'm going to have to get this uploaded. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.